Welcome to Carpool Conversations, where our goal is to equip parents to have meaningful, Christ-centered conversations with their kids. I'm Emily Alters.
And I'm Marissa Ray, and today we will be talking about cultivating creativity and curiosity in our kids.
Yes, so creativity is such a fun topic. We have with us today Travis. We did do a past podcast with a fun guest, Patrick Miles, an innovation strategist over at Chick-fil-A. He talked with us about inspiring creativity in our kids. And parents loved that episode, and we decided we had just scratched the surface of it. So we're joined by none other than Travis, our very good friend. Marissa, if you want to introduce him.
Yeah, I'd love to. So we have Travis Hawkins here with us today, who works with us at WinShape. And so Travis graduated from Samford University and somehow never stopped creating things from then. Over 30 years in creative ministry, he helped kick off student ministry student life, served as creative director at the church at Brook Hills in Birmingham, Alabama, and produced videos at Lifeway Christian Resources for more authors than he can remember. Online, he's best known as Edwin from the viral series Edwin's Corner. These days, he leads the creative team at WinShape Camps. He also collects compact discs, also known as CDs, like actual physical ones, and is unapologetically proud of it. He is only somewhat ashamed to admit that he used ChatGPT to help him write this bio.
I did. Yeah, I do. I do feel conflicted about that as a writer. Actually, I think ChatGPT should only be available to writers to use only in emergency. But often people use it in front of me, which is a little insulting.
Yeah.
But I did use it for this. You didn't tell me that Patrick Miles had already done this.
He has spoken to us about creativity, but
he's a professional. Like, what am I going to say that he? Like, I would just be prepared to cut a lot of this out. In fact, I fully expect an email from one of you in about a week that says,
"No,
hey, thank you so much, but actually, we're not going to release that episode. So just no hard feelings if you have to do that."
No, we've been so excited about this one. You're a creativity genius yourself, so wizard, one might say.
You're too kind.
Yeah. Well, Travis, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about your family, and then maybe one thing that you're really enjoying about this current stage and season of parenting that you're in.
Did you say enjoying?
Enjoying.
Okay.
Or
let me have to think about that.
The flip side.
So my wife Lisa and I have been married for 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that we're recording this parenting podcast right now because I'm solo dad this week while Lisa is on a work trip to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So we have two children, Alice, who is 10, and Cora, who just turned 5.
Sweet.
And they are sweet. They are also, a handful. It's a mixed bag, parenting. You understand.
Mm-hmm. You might have different answers, like last week when Lisa was home versus this week when you're solo parenting for some things.
Yeah. Something weird we've noticed is that the girls tend to do better with just one of us.
Okay.
I don't know what that dynamic is, but it's like maybe if there's if the opposition has more, then they feel like they have to up their game, and when it's two of them against one, they feel like they can relax a little bit. I don't know what it is.
They got the majority.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's funny.
Well, I love that. I was just thinking, I was out of town last weekend, and Montana, my husband, when I got back home, it was just for 2 days, not a whole week, and we were like in the car driving home, and he reached for my hand and just squeezed it, and he was like, I can finally take a deep breath now. You're back,
No, we have some interesting things in our family and in our marriage where, like I do all the cooking, which maybe is not normal, and sort of that happened like during the course of our marriage while my wife was pregnant with Cora. It was during COVID.
Okay.
I was like, let's not have you go out. I'll go to the store. And then I'm like, I don't know how to find anything at the store. So then I got to that. I think it was all part of her secret plan to eventually have me do a lot of cooking.
Yeah.
But so maybe a little less lost than some
Okay.
husbands might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Yeah, well, we're
Good.
so glad you're doing fine.
Thank you.
I'm sure Cora and Alice are excited to have just Dad for the week, you
As
know?
far as I know, they're at school right now.
Well, Travis, as we said in your bio, you are just a creative person in general. You love being creative. And so we would love for you to just tell us a little bit about how would you define creativity, and in what ways do you see it show up uniquely in different people?
That's a great question. Defining creativity, I don't know, like speaking for myself, I'm just wired that way. There's a long list of things that I am not good at and can't do. Things that really any normal functioning human being should be able to do well. Numbers, for instance. God just wired me to think in a certain way and see things through a certain lens or perspective. But having said that, I think creativity can often get boxed into, painting or writing or the arts in some way. And of course, as I'm sure Patrick talked about, there are many ways to be creative. You know, we might even interchange the word innovative with creativity, which might be a word that people outside of the arts are more comfortable with. But I think it has to do with a willingness to think of things in a different way, and an openness to approach a problem or a challenge from another angle. And to that degree, creativity is something that can be learned. You can train yourself to be creative. Some people are just kind of born that way, right? But it is something that everyone can get good at, and it has very little to do with art. Whatever your field is, there are ways for you to be creative and innovative.
Yeah.
What was the other part of your question?
Yes. And in what ways do you see it show up uniquely in different people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it has to do with your field, maybe. Like, here's what I think is that we were all made in God's image, right? What is God's first act? Creation, is it not? In the beginning, God created. It's the fifth word. It's the first verb. So surely if we are made in his image, that must have something to do with creating, with making. People like to make stuff, whether that's something physical or... So I think that we are all wired to be creative, and that we spend most of our time on this earth telling ourselves that we're not creative and that our ideas are no good. And mostly because we are all individuals and originals, which means that our ideas might not line up with whatever the status quo is. And so we tend to discount our ideas. So it's those folks that learn to trust that part of themselves that God wired to be creative that will have most success in that area. And it's something you can grow, and it's something that you can learn.
I love that. I love that you're not putting creativity in a box, like you said. Like, I think whenever you hear someone say, like, yeah, they're creative, or you're right, like our minds are almost conditioned to like picture this box of the arts per se, but it's so much bigger than that. Like, the Lord designed us all, and he gave us all unique ways that we are creative, and we just get to find how we are uniquely creative. So I love your definition of that.
There's a little exercise we can do. You want to do that? You want to take a little detour and do a little exercise?
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. I'm just gonna have you close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm gonna ask you to picture something. Okay. I'm gonna describe something to you, and you just imagine it in your mind's eye. Okay. You walk into a room, and there's a big, beautiful Christmas tree. Under the tree, there's a wrapped present. You open the present and look inside. Okay, so you can open your eyes. So Emily, describe the tree for me that you saw.
The tree, it was of all the colors, the colored lights. The colored lights on the Christmas tree, live tree, of course, all of
Okay.
my family, like handmade kids ornaments that I've made growing up on the tree. And
So is this a real tree?
yes, a live tree.
No,
Yes,
but
a
is it
real
like
tree.
is it a tree that exists? Like, are you describing an imaginary tree, or is this like at your
A
folks'
tree
house
at
right
my
now?
parents' house.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then what did the present?
The present was, I didn't see,
What
I think
the,
it was
what the
red box.
package is red. Okay.
With a bow.
With the bow that was also red.
Maybe stripes. I didn't get that far.
Stripes. Okay, all
I was
right.
already jumping ahead to what was in my box.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh, you were already like eager about like what I get.
Yeah.
What made you assume that present was for you? Okay, is that right? Is that what she said? Did you see colored lights and
No,
homemade
I saw
ornaments?
white lights.
You saw white lights.
Yes, a real tree. I actually envisioned the tree that we don't have yet at our house,
Okay.
but we have had in the past 2 years.
All right.
I'm hopefully we'll get it this weekend.
Okay.
But yes, white lights, ornaments, like Emily said, and then saw the gift. It was red too, but inside the gift, whenever you said what's inside, it was a bike. Only because we're giving my 2-year-old a bike for Christmas,
right.
and I think I'm just like so excited to give him that. So whenever you said that, like that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Did you see a bike? What was in the package?
No, I saw a Sony A7 IV camera.
Is that right?
I love
We're
that.
not sponsored.
Yeah. So the point of this is that we all have inside of us a creative well that just all by itself goes. Like what I described for you took about 10 minutes to say, and we could keep unpacking it for 20 minutes. And your mind immediately fills in all kind of detail without you doing any work to do that. Now we get in trouble when we say, oh, colored lights, that's so, I'll bet everybody will say that. I've got to change my answer. And now we've missed the thing that is most Emily,
Yeah.
you know? And so training yourself to roll with whatever that well is giving you is a step in the right direction. But it also demonstrates that there's something inside of you that's like you didn't have to work at it. It's just there because you're a creative person.
I love that exercise. Everyone listening can take that and do that tonight too.
Yeah, if you're listening to this in the car, maybe don't close your eyes. I should have said that at the beginning. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's so good. So speaking of creativity, everyone's born with maybe something different in them, whether it's a knack for problem solving or maybe it is the arts. But how have you seen creativity, God's creative spirit that's given to us, show up in your 2 daughters?
Yes. So our oldest daughter, Alice, really just lives in another dimension. Like she loves books and stories and is always inventing things and drawing. She is wired like me in many ways. Our 5-year-old, it's still kind of hard to tell. She's still developing her little personality. For what it's worth, I feel like she's the one that's interested in like dresses and like looking pretty, and she just decided that jeans are for boys. So like all the jeans, that's out. But Alice, our oldest, she can get lost in a world of imagination. Also with Alice, like she's very into, Harry Potter and, books like that for young adults and fantasy. And there's a quote by Buechner. It's a long quote, and so I'm not even going to try it. But basically what he says is Christianity is a true fairy tale. And I love that idea. Like he says, if you look at the Christian story, it's got light and darkness. It's got an epic battle. The good guy wins. And really, this is something that we were trying to get at with our WinShape Camps theme a couple of summers ago, Wonder Chronicles, where we took a look at God's big story. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. But there was another element that might have got lost along the way that I really wanted to get in there, which was that it's my belief that every story is in some way an echo of the gospel. Either the gospel is either the biblical record is just another of many stories, or it's the story, and we can see reflections and echoes of it everywhere we look. In any story, there's a challenge. There's a hero. Love either wins the day or doesn't. In the gospel story, love does. But that's why we feel the brokenness and disappointment, like when it doesn't. So all that to say, I know that some parents, and I'm not going to try to, convince them otherwise, are careful with their kids getting into fantasy and that kind of thing. I feel like that's just right next door to the Christian story, with the crucial difference that this is not just a story. It is something that is true, but there are echoes of it through. I mean, this is why people love Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Chronicles of Narnia. Story really, really touches on something, and I think it brings us back to God's great story. So yeah, when Alice is getting into story and imagination, I love that, because she's also growing in her faith. And I don't know that those things always connect for her, but for me, I can see how they do and how they will as she continues to grow.
Yeah.
I love that picture of how every story is an echo of the gospel story. Like, I think about, if we think about our lives that way, like our children that way, like just thinking about, that is a beautiful picture. I'm like seeing in my head, like, man, that makes so much sense. Like, that's so true. Like, the Bible is our true central story. Like, everything else should echo it and come from it.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't, like stories that are dark and sad, we feel that because it is not the way things ought to be. So it's like a dark shadow of the gospel story. It's like things haven't gone right here. Our world is broken, and we feel the brokenness of it. So even when things don't turn out right in stories, it gives us a window into the brokenness that we find in ourselves and our need for a Savior.
We were talking a little bit ago about how creativity is from God. Like, in the beginning, God created. He created us to all be creative. And so how can seeing creativity as a gift from God reshape the way that we parent and disciple our kids?
I think that folks there, may have an image of, like, if you're a professional creative, wow, you must always be having little, building little forts and telling little stories and like making things out of paper, and it's not that way.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we do that sometimes, but like, being a creative doesn't get you out of the challenge of being a parent. In fact, sometimes like I have the opposite, like this world isn't necessarily wired for creatives. I mean, there can be challenges. And so like when I see a lot of myself in Alice, it's really strange. Like my impulse is not, more of this. It's like, what are the other kids into? Maybe like what are they wearing? Maybe you should and like and I hate that in myself. I want to encourage, but I know that like if you stand out, you might get, I don't know, picked on or so finding that balance of wanting to encourage that creativity in her and the uniqueness, the unique way that God has made her and little Cora. It's a trick because it is risky to be our authentic selves in a way. So, I feel like being a parent is, you would do anything to protect your child. And on most days, the greatest threat to your child is your child. So there's a constant tension of why would you do that, but also I'm so glad you're safe. So there's always this battle going on and so wanting to give them enough freedom to explore and grow and be who they are, and also wanting to give enough guardrails of, helping shape them and disciple them. And it's a balance. I don't pretend to have figured out. If you are looking for that, I'm afraid I don't have that to give.
No, that's okay.
I think that it's interesting you say that, because I remember, I think as parents, you are that safe place for her to be her fully authentic self, and fully creative. And I remember I was also a very bold kid. I always was acting at home and being dramatic. And I was very into all fantasy stories growing up, Harry Potter included. But I think that's the great thing about kids at that point in time, is that they are so authentically themselves. They don't know to have fear around being themselves or fitting in yet. And I think they will do that naturally themselves. I remember getting to middle school and feeling that need to quiet myself to fit, because you're right, the world is stick to the status quo, fit in, don't stand out too much, especially in those younger years when kids are so worried about what other friends and peers are doing.
Girls can be mean.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is that balance of wanting to let her be herself, but also I've been there, I know what's coming. And so how can I, it's tricky.
Yeah. So on a more practical level, talking to parents at home that are listening, what rhythms or habits could parents use to consistently cultivate curiosity and creativity in their kids? Because I think kids naturally have that sense of wonder.
Yeah.
But those, even maybe parents who their kids don't think they're creative, maybe they're more on the sporty side and like the sports. And but how would you say parents could practically cultivate curiosity in their home?
I don't know that I'll have something original to say on this, but if they're into sports, let them be that. Yeah, don't try to. We took Alice to a soccer camp a few summers ago, and because she was interested in soccer, and so I dropped her off, and went and did my thing and came back in an hour whenever the thing was over. And as I drive up, I see 98 kids on the field and 2 kids on the sidelines picking wildflowers, or weeds, really. And I go up to the, high school girl that's helping run the camp. And I ask her, that's my daughter. How'd it go? She said, she asked us if there would be any crafts in soccer. Okay, I can see this might not be the thing for her. And conversely, one of our neighbors has a little girl who's so into soccer.
Yeah.
And let her be. There's going to be opportunities to express creativity through sport. I don't know anything about sports, but I know that if your kid is, not into those typical creative things like writing or painting, or it's not going to, you won't be any more successful in sending my daughter to soccer camp. That's just the way they're wired. And then maybe just some of the things that I'm sure parents already know and we struggle with, go outside. We work hard to give, they're amazing how they can find a screen. There's so many screens to find in a house, and they'll find them. Put one down, you turn around. I didn't even know we had that. Trying to find that balance, because there's, Alice loves to read books on her little Kindle. But sometimes we just got to get her off that screen, get her outside. Making time with friends is certainly one. Gosh, I was just listening to, there's these chat bots and AI friends and whatnot, and was just listening to something on the way about how this generation of kids is going to struggle to do things like read the face of another human being, especially one that might not agree with you on everything. And so, yeah, screens can be great, but also limiting that time.
Yeah, I think I see Knox be the most creative when he's outside. Like you said, like get outside. But he would prefer to not be on a playground. Like he just wants to be like walking around, picking up sticks, picking up rocks, like being creative in that way. Or just giving him like time almost. So like I love to watch him play by himself when we just have time. And like the structures he will build with his tiles. And he'll come, running, Mama, come look. And I'll come in there. He's like, look at my garages that I built for the cars, and he like came up with that all on his own. But like you said, like getting them out from behind screens, like giving them time to just like sit and like let their minds wander and be creative and get outside. I think like y'all are both saying, like those are ways that our kids can naturally just let their creativity come out when we're not even trying to.
And this is why kids have always and will always love a cardboard box.
Yes.
Because that's a more creative act.
Yep.
Because it needs something from you if it's going to be anything. And anymore with toys that are so automated and so prescriptive, it's like, well, the work is done here.
Yeah.
Kind of like the playground. Okay, slide, swing. I know what those things are.
Yeah.
I want to make up my own thing. And it can be a trap, those toys of like the real clear lines of how you're supposed to play with this toy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having them invent their own stuff and giving them the opportunity to do that. But like my kids, wanting to find those screens, they're like, they don't always want that. It's a challenge, that kind of play, and they don't always want it. So I don't know, finding the balance of like letting them watch their show and then also encourage them to be more creative.
I love that. Well, Travis, just for our last question, would there be anything else you would just want to encourage parents to know, or just to hear from you as you share like how for them to just encourage creativity with their kids if they're struggling with doing that, if they want to see that more in their kids? Are there any last things that you would want to share or encourage parents with?
I have one piece of advice that is has been transformative not only for my parenting but applies to any relationship anytime. This is not necessarily creative, so this one is just thrown out there for free, but apologize. I had someone in my life growing up that had a temper, and that temper would spill out, and then everyone is just expected to pick up the pieces and move on and not discuss. I worked with a guy later on who had such a close tie with his family and an awful temper. He would pop off all the time. And I realized the difference is he would stop and he would say, I'm sorry. And it made all the difference in the world. So as a parent, you are going to get things wrong. Even with this creative stuff we've been talking, I get things wrong all the time. And to acknowledge that to your child models for them, oh, mom and dad aren't perfect. Better for them to find that out now rather than later. But also help set an expectation of I don't have to be perfect and I can learn and I can grow. So get good at apologizing. That will help your marriage, your parenting, your friendships, maybe your creativity. I don't know.
I already have to apologize when I walk in and say, Knox, look, that's such a cool tunnel you built. He says, no, Mom, that's a garage. I'm so sorry, Knox. I said the wrong thing. Well, I love that. Thanks for leaving us with that, Travis. It's been so great to have you here
Thank you for having
with
me.
us today. Of course, like Emily said, you are a creative genius around here in the WinShape world. So we are grateful for all that you do.
Thank you.
And for parents who are listening, we always love to end our podcast with a question for you to take home to your family. You can ask your kids while you're sitting in the carpool line, while you're at dinner time, bedtime, anything like that. But we want to leave you with a question today that says, in what ways do you think that God made you creative? So we're excited for the conversations you're going to get to have with your kids around that question, and we will see you next time.